The United States is a country where you can tell someone's political affiliation by whether or not they're a fan of Chris Pratt. So with that in mind, everyone's going to the Super Mario movie to see whether or not he did a good job voicing Mario. I mean, it's a beloved property. So of course, opinions are high, they're gonna be heated. And truthfully, the trailer left much to be desired. The only thing we really got from his voice was him going, "Mushroom Kingdom, here we come." And I didn't do a good job of it. I didn't think he did a good job of it with the trailer. Plus, I'm really glad that wasn't actually in the film. It would have been really odd if all of a sudden he was very excited to go to the Mushroom Kingdom after, being confused with this whole mushroom world that he had been in for a few seconds. Didn't question a thing, by the way, which was how the movie really moved forward. But before we get into the actual movie, let's just talk about their voices. So, with that said, here's my review of the Super Mario movie. And as Chris Pratt's Mario would say, let's go. So, starting off with the voices. I think Chris Pratt did a fine job. I mean, it wasn't anything remarkable. And I feel like they have A-list talent, or what is A-list these days. I mean, it's not the Hollywood of yesteryear. It's decent, though. I like the cast. So, but I don't think they really brought their A-game. Chris Pratt, I feel like he did an okay job. The movie knew his accent wasn't going to be his best performance in the world, unlike Jack Black's. But, I feel like that's why they had to kind of cushion the film with a lot of discussion about accents and Italian accents, which is why we had the original voice actor of Mario from the video game show up twice in the film, and he was also cast as Mario's dad. So I loved that. But in the very beginning of it, and spoilers ahead, they had Mario's accent, or his original, they kind of just did a more Italian, a more stereotypical accent in the very beginning, which, didn't mind, but they kind of used it as a way of showing, like it was their marketing gimmick. So they had to do the accent in order to kind of stand out. Everyone needs a gimmick, especially when you're a small business owner. So, that it was an explanation, a real world explanation, or their real world, as to why the accent was needed, and then they just kind of brushed it aside. But I feel like had Chris Pratt's performance been a little better, they wouldn't have needed all that extra cushion or all that justification to show this is why we're not using Mario's stereotypical voice, because they knew it was going to be a hot button issue, apparently they were right. Up next, Charlie Day absolutely killed it as Luigi. I love seeing him as Luigi. Sorry about that. Loved seeing him as Luigi. I thought he was a lot of fun. I wish there was more of him in the film. I wish he had more lines, but I think they set him up for a Luigi's Mansion down the line. But he is one of those characters, and he is one of those voices where you just can't help but think, that's Charlie Day. We've all heard Charlie Day speak. And, it's kind of weird seeing him be out in the world and hear Charlie Day's voice without him being an absolute menace. But honestly, I could have had a whole hour of Charlie Day improvising, screaming, yelling, and it still would have been a good time. So, Luigi's Mansion, let's make it happen. Up next, we have Jack Black, who stole the show. He was the MVP of the movie. His Bowser absolutely killed it, and I feel like they had to write the entire movie around his Bowser because he was just that good. So the movie's filled with Easter eggs. So they kind of wrote everything around him. So they made Bowser really kind of pine for Peach. Really loved her, and that gave them all of the material they needed to make Jack Black or his Bowser more cartoonish and just kind of stand out. Just a lot more characterization to a villain who's just, evil, and we don't really know his motivations outside of just trying to steal the princess in most video games. But here, it's because he loved Peach, so of course he's going to steal her and try to propose to her. And I just love seeing all those facets of Bowser. I mean, we saw him kind of give a puppy dog face, which, we would never see in a game. We saw him put his heart on the line. We saw him kind of propose to that one minion of his with the magical powers. Overall, great. I love Princess Peach's voice actress. She was good too. I love that they didn't make her character just such a damsel in distress. They made Luigi a damsel in distress, which works here. I know a lot of people are upset that Peach is a girl boss and, she didn't really need saving, which is the kind of like the main reason why people Mario's main motivation in the actual games. Here though, don't think that was necessary. I think if Mario is coming into this new world, he's not as inclined to save it. And again, it was stated right up front, he wants to save Brooklyn. But here, no, it wasn't really necessary for him to do all that. Why? Because if you hold on to Luigi as the main motivation, Mario's going to go and save their kingdom anyway. Or he's going to save their kingdom because he wants to save his brother. I think that's understandable. Alright, what else? Keegan-Michael Key and his voice as Toad. You could kind of tell it's him. But I think they did such a good job masking his voice. I think that was all special effects. I thought it was going to be his deeper, normal voice. Which also would have been really funny. But I did like that they gave a deeper voice to another Toad, one of the Toad council members. Because, because it was juxtaposed with another Toad who's just like, we're adorable. So, loved that. That was hilarious. Let's see, is there anyone I'm missing in terms of voice? Nah. Seth Rogen. So, Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong. He's kind of this stoner ape who is a disappointment to his father, or to Cranky Kong. And it didn't really work for me. I mean, I liked that there were like 2 jokes that the punchline was Seth Rogen's laugh. And in an interview, he even admitted, like, if you want Seth Rogen, you're getting Seth Rogen. So he didn't really put his all into it. He kind of just did his Seth Rogen laugh. And his normal Seth Rogen voice didn't really change much. But, if again, the premise is he's a stoner ape that's a disappointment to his dad. So ultimately, for better or worse, it worked in the film. But damn, these are all characters where every time you hear them, you can't help think of their voice actors. So it kind of breaks the immersion. With regards, and then the last one is Fred Armisen's Cranky Kong. He didn't really sound cranky at all. Why am I blanking on the name? The guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Would have loved him instead. Now that's a cranky person. He nails the whole cranky, grumpy attitude. Would have loved that. Fred Armisen, they didn't give him many lines. His lines are just kind of stating the obvious, like, oh, he ate the wrong mushroom. When we could visually see he ate the wrong mushroom. But that brings me over to the movie as a whole. So the movie as a whole, another 90-minute movie per Illumination's, I don't know, is there their policy? Or for some reason, they just do 90-minute movies. But to their credit, it was beautiful. The animation was gorgeous, stunning, and charming. I think the plot was super simple. Deceivingly simple, but I was okay with it. I mean, it's a 90-minute movie. We're not going to really flesh out everyone's characters. So the plot had to move quick. Also remember, this is for kids. And kids these days have a shorter attention span. So, like nowadays, you can't have a kid sit and watch to the menu. I haven't seen the menu. I don't know. Just some critically acclaimed drama like this is. Or some of the stuff we grew up with would be too slow paced for them. I always compare it to older manga or older anime. Older anime is much, much, much slower paced than newer anime. Like new shonen anime, they're already getting their power up right away, and then they're on it, like they're already in a tournament arc within the first 2 arcs. Like they move quick. Whereas in Dragon Ball, it took forever to get to their tournament arc, or then Naruto, which was even newer, still took forever to get to a tournament arc. Things just nowadays need to move faster. We're gonna get to the point where we're gonna have to play Subway Surfers underneath movies for our attention spans. But until that, I am perfectly happy with how quickly the Super Mario movie was paced. And you have to keep the plot simple. But what I didn't like was their use of the licensed songs. It just didn't fit. I get it. Maybe they were trying to go for 80s vibes with these, but I just wasn't a fan of how they use the songs. Like there have been too many movies recently that have used the I Need a Hero song. And here it was used in his little obstacle course training session to show that he's not going to die if he goes out to battle Bowser. But don't use I Need a Hero. Maybe there's a quota for halftime, you have to use it. But if you're not Shrek 2, that's not really your song to use. Like, it's already been done. You can't outdo it. I'm pretty sure the recent Shazam movie also used it. Wasn't a fan of there either. So ultimately, licensed songs, it was weird. Like Thunderstruck came out of nowhere, and I was just like, you have so much good Mario music. Use that. But I did enjoy the Easter eggs. There were some really deep cuts, but the really obvious ones were a lot of fun, such as Bowser jamming with his magical henchman, and he plays the Bowser theme song. There were a lot of good songs. I like the song choices for the unlicensed music. Again, licensed music could have been better. Maybe they were going for an 80s nostalgia thing. I don't know. One thing I did notice they went for was that every other minute, I think maybe like 2 Easter eggs per minute would be the rate of Easter eggs in this movie. So, and they were all tiny, but they were all scattered through well. It could have even been more, such as when they're hanging out at the Punch-Out Diner or Punch-Out Cafe. A lot of deep cuts. But it was, I think they kind of had like 2 systems working together. They had, for the adults, a bunch of references. So the adults are constantly also engaging with the movie. And such little things too, as in like how the camera would pan when showing the Mushroom Kingdom, and it would look a lot like the games. And on the other layer was the simple, fast-paced plot that the Super Mario movie was presenting here. So again, for the old heads, a lot of Easter eggs every few seconds to keep them engaged. For the young bloods, a lot of just fast-paced, simple story. I mean, it was a lot of fun. But as an older audience member, it was sometimes a little too fast-paced. Like, why is Peach agreeing to join him right away? They had just met, and then I feel like she was taking on anyone because she was just like, "Oh, Toad, you also want to join? Sure, no obstacle course for you, by the way, though. Just come on in." So, there were little nitpicks, but again, you have to keep it moving. Another standout of the entire movie was the star, which, in the games, their kind of point is just kind of to die, and then another galaxy springs to life. And so here they kind of used that and made it kind of a sociopath. Like, it wanted to die. It was longing for the sweet embrace of death, and I was living it up. I felt kind of bad for the younger kids who might have been scared seeing something like that or hearing someone talk like that. But also, little kids are dark. Like, sometimes they'll say the darkest stuff, and I'm just like, "Are you okay, buddy?" Anyway, who else was really good from the Mario movie, or what else did I enjoy? The go-kart scene, so much fun with the Rainbow Road. I was like, okay, I like how you snuck this in there. I like that you even, like how you customize it. Also kind of alludes to other films, like how you customize the car. It had a lot of, kind of hints at a greater universe, perhaps a Super Smash Bros. Movie down the line. I hope they use the Legend of Zelda property next for a movie. I think they'd have a lot of good material to work with there. But ultimately, I was grinning ear to ear. I know a lot of people aren't happy about this movie. I was smiling ear to ear watching the entire thing. I thought they killed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I understood what it was going into it. Like, you're not going to have the most beautiful cinematic experience coming out of it. You're supposed to have a good time. And ultimately, that's what it was. That's what the Super Mario Bros. Movie was. Great time. Lots of colors. Beautiful cinematography. I'd watch again. I had a great time with it. But with that said, this was my first video here on YouTube. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for sticking around. One last thing I want to mention, speaking of, mushrooms, because my logo back there was a mushroom this entire time. I had to talk about the Super Mario movie as one of my first videos here on YouTube. Plus, just a big fan of mushrooms. The mushrooms, it was a good timing too. I know they built the entire Super Mario theme park over in Universal Studios just to promote the movie. I'm kidding. But nowadays, people were really into mushrooms. So I think mushrooms are the new mustaches, because you know how mustaches were all the rage, maybe like in the 2010s. So now it's all about mushrooms these days here in the early 20s. And with that said, because I think there are certain, those special types of mushrooms that are going to get legalized in, let's say, 10 years. I kind of wanted to get ahead of the curve with regards to this whole mushroom trend. And so I wrote a story. Psilo, and the Four Kingdoms, available on Amazon. Highly recommend it. It is a fun fantasy novella about someone who is their joy boy or fun guy. So one of the characters has to perform the joy boy prophecy, and the other one tags along. It all takes place in a mushroom world. So, speaking of mushroom kingdoms, and the world is called Ushru. It ties into another bigger world. And here it is. Cryptids and Freedom. This is my debut novel. This one is about cryptids and conspiracies. So if you are really into conspiracies such as the Antarctic Treaty, or if you're really into cryptids such as the Chupacabra, we actually have quite a few in there. Not some of the big names yet. I want to save those for the sequel. But both really fun reads. Highly recommend. I hope you check them out on Amazon. And once again, thank you so much for watching my first video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you for the next one.